And we are back. Welcome to the first round of group deciders in the Asian Cup and the African Cup of Nations. We have got 6 matches to cover today, 2 from the Asian Cup and 4 from the African Cup of Nations, which of course means, as always, when we do our group deciders, I am going to bring up all of the group tables as we go through all of today's predictions. So you guys have the best information available to you, so you can make your own informed decisions whilst I talk about what I think is going to happen. And while you're thinking about that, please do consider dropping a like on this video if you do enjoy these sort of breakdowns as I go into these predictions, and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. We will, of course, be doing this for all of the groups this week as we find out who will be making it into the knockout stages of the Asian Cup and the African Cup of Nations. Without any further ado, let's just get straight into it as we start off with the Asian Cup and Group A. And, of course, that is the group of Qatar, China, Tajikistan, and Lebanon. Let's bring the group table up for you right now. And there it is. As you can see, Qatar on 6 points and already through as group winners. China in second on 2, and Tajikistan and Lebanon on 1 point each. Now, the reason why this group is so fascinating is because Qatar are the only side that have scored a goal in this group. China haven't scored, Tajikistan haven't scored, and Lebanon haven't scored. Quite staggering, to be honest with you. So with that said, we'll start with Qatar against China, because China could actually draw this game and still go through if Tajikistan and Lebanon finishes 0-0, which, quite frankly, could happen. However, I think regardless, given how all the other sides have played so far in this group, I think it's safe to say, I say safe, it might not be, but I think it's safe to say that Qatar will beat China. I don't think it'll be too convincing. I'm only going to go for a 2-0 win. But China need to produce something they haven't shown so far in this tournament to, as I say, firstly score and then, of course, win to guarantee themselves second spot in the group. But like I said, we don't know. Qatar might make changes. They are guaranteed to win the group regardless. So maybe Qatar makes some changes, but I don't think they will. As for the other game, though, this is probably going to be the decider. If either of these sides can manage to get a goal and secure a victory, they will be through, of course, assuming that China don't beat Qatar. So, big pressure, I think, on both teams. Like I said, neither team has scored so far in this tournament. So, they're both going to be looking to do something they haven't done yet. And what makes this even more interesting is that when you look at the world rankings, they're literally next to each other. Tajikistan are 106th, Lebanon are 107th. So there couldn't be anything less to separate these two sides. However, I am going to edge it in favour of Tajikistan, just based off of how they performed against Qatar. That's all I've got to go on. They only lost by 1 goal. Lebanon lost, I think it was by 3, might have even been 4. But that's the only thing I've got to go on. Can Tajikistan get the goal to secure themselves a spot in the next round, assuming that China don't produce something against Qatar? We shall see. It's going to be a very, very fascinating day. But for me, I think it's going to be Tajikistan that make it into the knockout stages of Qatar 2023. From the Asian Cup, then we move to the African Cup of Nations, where we've got 4 matches in the African Cup of Nations today, starting off with Group A. And of course, there are the connotations here. So Guinea-Bissau are out, whatever happens. There is nothing they can do. However, for Equatorial Guinea, Nigeria and Ivory Coast, it's going to be a little bit more interesting. Let's, of course, start with the game between Guinea-Bissau and Nigeria, because that's the probably least connotations one. Guinea-Bissau have done okay in the matches they've played, but obviously they've not been able to produce the results to give them a chance of getting through. They'll probably end up playing some other players that haven't played so far, just so they can get that international tournament experience. And I think we would all expect Nigeria to come away with the win, especially after how they played against Ivory Coast. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win. These sides did actually play each other in qualifying for this tournament, with both sides respectively winning 1-0 away from home. So might not be as easy as people expect for Nigeria, but I think after what we saw, they're going to win. That then brings us to the big game. Equatorial Guinea taking on Ivory Coast. Equatorial Guinea, a draw will see them progress. For Ivory Coast, it quite simply has to be a win, because they have to assume that Nigeria are going to beat Guinea-Bissau. I think it's going to be a very interesting game. I think it's going to be an end-to-end game. Both sides probably not performing to the level that they would have respectively... I don't know. Maybe Equatorial Guinea have played to the level they would have expected, but Ivory Coast certainly weren't on it against Nigeria. They're going to need to see an improvement today. I think they're just about going to do it, though. I'm going to go for a very narrow 2-1 win to Ivory Coast, but we'll see. Equatorial Guinea, they're definitely more than capable of getting the result they need today Could be a very defensive performance. It just depends how early Ivory Coast can get a go-ahead goal, if they do indeed get a go-ahead goal. Finally then, we move on to Group B, and the connotations for that group are as followed right here. As you can see, Cape Verde are, of course, top as group winners. Exactly the same setup, actually, as the Asian Cup group. Of course, in this group, though, more sides have scored goals. But Cape Verde guaranteed to be group winners. Egypt sit in second. Ghana and Mozambique both on 1 point, sitting at the bottom. The opening game we'll talk about, though, is the Cape Verde-Egypt game, because I think, from a Cape Verde perspective, they've played so well in this tournament so far. They're going to want to extend how well they've been playing. And also, they're going to want to knock out Egypt, because Egypt are one of the sides that had been tipped to go very, very long in this tournament. Mo Salah, of course, is going to be out probably until the semi-finals. So a long, long way for Egypt to go without him. And against what has been one of the best sides in this tournament so far, I don't think they can win without him today. And I think Cape Verde will carry on playing the way that they've played and produce another good result. And I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Cape Verde. And I think that will be it for Egypt, because that will then mean that their goal difference will be low enough that if Ghana and Mozambique draw, Ghana would end up going above Egypt on goal difference anyway. So that would be it for Egypt. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think they're definitely capable of producing a result against Cape Verde. And obviously it depends if Cape Verde do make changes. But for me, I think they stick with the team that they've played so far in this tournament. And I think they end up beating Egypt and knocking them out. That will leave... I can't get my words out properly. That will mean that Mozambique and Ghana will be fighting it out for that second spot. Obviously, these games will be being played at the same time. But that is what will happen. And I don't know. Mozambique have done well so far. Getting their own draw against Egypt was very good. But then they were pretty well beaten by Cape Verde. Ghana, on the other hand, again, played well. They've got Mohamed Kudus playing really well. Scored 2 very good goals in their game against Egypt. And, of course, Chris Hughton in charge. He's got good experience. Is he going to be the man to lead them over the line today? For me, very much like the Ivory Coast game, I'm going to edge it 2-1 in favour of Ghana. It's going to be a fascinating day. I think, like I say, all 3 groups taking place across the Asian Cup and the African Cup of Nations today. I think there's going to be drama in all 3 groups, and there could be a big upset at some point today, which could see a surprise team get through to the knockout stages. Let me know all of your thoughts down in the comment section as always. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you again tomorrow, where we'll do this all over again.